Good evening, everybody, or afternoon, or if you're on the other side of the pond, it might be morning for some people, or very, very, very late night. And this, I guess, is an unusual one because my guest is not the typical creator in the sense of YouTuber or that sense of thing as so much as
Yeah,
but you create written content and you interact verbally in Twitter Spaces and you create content. I guess you might say in an older school form of like a
yeah,
journalistic form, kind of a web form like CNET, ZDNet sort of thing. But you have your own website. It's One Cut Reviews. If people, I didn't post your links down below yet because I
it's
want
on
to
the
make sure
name.
that I
It's
get
all
that
good.
all right. Um, but those links will be in there following directly after the live stream for people obviously that catch this in replay. It should be up there like immediately. That's the one thing I like about doing
Yeah,
this and I can actually add it during the stream if I wanted, but um
it's all good.
so we were chatting weather a little bit.
Yeah.
So you are in Toronto area and
Yes.
have you lived there? Have you been there like your whole life then or?
No, well, you might be able to hear from the accent. I'm originally from Perth, Western Australia. Lived there most of my life. I've been living here in Toronto now for probably about 13, 14 years. Originally came over for work and ended up staying and never left. Just recently became a citizen, actually, just this past year. Officially a dual citizen of Australia and Canada now.
See, I never make assumptions. I went to school with somebody who, his parents were from England, so he was first generation in here, and but he
Yeah,
had the accent because he grew up around his parents and grandparents and
yeah.
aunts and uncles and cousins and everybody that had the English
Speech,
accent. But he
yeah.
was born in the United States, so I never make, you never know. And
No,
I know
I mean,
Canada, you have like, Quebecois, and you have, like all the different
you just thought it was
and
a dialect
accents
mixed.
accents of things and I picked up the Australian and of course, whenever you say cheers and mate, that's
Yeah,
a Australian
got
or
dead giveaway.
English kind of thing, but you never know. People travel, people are um,
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah.
or like I had quite a few people or a couple people I went to school with who parents were in the military. And so
Yes.
one of them was English married to a German, and so she had like a half sibling that
Yeah.
had the
Had
German
had
accent,
the
and it
accent.
was kind of funny because she
Well,
would pick up on
it's
it every once in a while because she spoke German to speak to
yeah.
her half of her family, and it was just interesting.
Well, it's funny because my background, my dad is Polish, my mother is Italian, and I was born in Australia. So, I got a bit of a perfect blend of everything going on there, which is always an interesting story, nonetheless.
So it's it's always interesting, where the connections of everything. And one of the greatest things I appreciate about being able to do what I do here and sitting down and, interviewing or talking to people or whatever is connecting with people from all parts of the world. I've had
Yeah,
conversations with people that are, hours and hours difference. I've been on a podcast where they had to do it in the middle of the day because, they're in England and so the time difference puts them
yeah,
at the end of the day there. And I've my aunts and uncle my aunt and my uncle are missionaries, and so they were in Uganda for a little bit, and then they were
oh
in
wow,
Lesotho, which is a small country inside South Africa, and then now they've been in Tanzania, and it's like the time difference is so funny sometimes. It's like 8 o'clock at night, but they're just getting up in
yeah,
the morning. So when I would Skype with them and stuff, quite often
yeah.
I
You
would be
just
going to do my homework at night and see, oh, my uncle's on, and he's getting up in the morning before work, getting around and having breakfast and making his
yeah,
delicious, fresh coffee because he's in Africa and
yeah.
so has got Ugandan and all that, all the and it's the interesting aspect of that. But so I got to know you a little bit through Twitter Spaces, through interacting on
Yeah.
Twitter, through Friday Night Fury, which I've been enjoying a lot, and I've
Yeah,
missed a few of them here and there, but that's the great thing about the replays, the
you can always
recordings
catch
now
up.
of that, and
Yeah.
the interactions, and so I I wondered, have you thought about, and I'm curious about like, do you know like have you looked into like the copyright and the rights of if you could link those within your website at all? Like, have you thought about doing that? And I wonder if
Yeah,
there would be a way to, like, I guess you would have to link to
like
your
link
page
and
and
get.
then have like a,
Yeah, to promote it out. I mean, the thing I think with it was funny when we started Friday Night Fury, we weren't sure how it was going to be received. And like, for those of you who have heard it, there's another guy there, Dalvon, who I just literally became friends with on Twitter. Like, we'd never met each other before. And one day I just, I have a radio background, so I have a degree in radio production, and I never got a chance to pursue that particular career, and always was interested in just live broadcasting and stuff like that. And long story short, Delvon and I had a bit of a conversation on Twitter one day, and I just messaged him out of the blue, and I said, "Hey man, like I'm thinking of starting a podcast. We seem to have similar interests. What do you think?" And yeah, so like we kind of got started there, and I get asked all the time, like, how, like, are you going to link it to the website? Are you going to start a YouTube channel? Like, what do you want to do with this? What do you see this going? And I always answer with the same kind of response, and that is, I think we absolutely could link it within the website. Just kind of like promote it at the beginning of each broadcast. I don't want. I think for me, I don't want to flood the website with just like Friday Night Fury ads. I don't want to be that guy. And a lot of the people who follow us tend to find us through social media, so a lot of the time they make their way there. But I've been pleasantly surprised with just how much people have been enjoying it. I didn't think it was going to be as entertaining as it has been. And I know, Mike, I know we've had some great conversations on there with a whole bunch of other people who are in the chat right now. How you doing, everybody? Jojo, El Jeff, how you going, man? Um, but yeah, no, I've been very happy with how it's going.
so real quick, I am gonna do this,
Yeah.
do share, screen, yes, I understand.
I don't know. Did we lose him? Oh no, there he is.
Well, I guess I wasn't gonna do that. I guess Melon app didn't want me to. It crashed as soon as I went to share the
I
page.
just
But any,
we lost you for a second there. I don't know what was going on.
I went to try to share the page and it crashed out. So,
It's all
um,
good, man. LGFA says looks
but
like
I
Darren's in
will have
charge.
the link to that. Darren's in charge. I wouldn't be too concerned. I know you could carry it for a while.
It's
So,
all. I'd try my best, Mike, but you're all one of a kind, buddy. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can do that.
so have you thought about expanding and doing like YouTube stuff at all? Maybe like I know you do articles on there and you have stuff that's concentrated on like maybe like a specific thing that's going on. For example,
Yeah.
you might have like the whole privacy Apple discussion thing that's been going on.
Yes.
You have that, but then you'll have like product talk discussion and I think I saw
Yeah.
there's some like sale discussion stuff going on.
Yeah. We've
Have
talked
you
a lot
thought
about a lot of
about expanding that into video and doing maybe Monday you talk about um like
like
stuff
trends
that
and
came in over the weekend or whatever,
yeah.
and then Wednesday you could do like if there were events that were earlier in the week you talk about it, and then Fridays maybe like a
A
weekly
wrap
wrap
up.
up and sales that are going into the weekend sort of thing. Have you thought about
Yeah.
doing anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, we did try the YouTube thing very unsuccessfully in the beginning. We again, we were I always came. I have a journalistic background, so I was always a writer first. I never was a creator first. And then yeah, like we tried a couple of videos. We made a YouTube channel. We recorded some very shitty content, like just horrendous. With an old Nikon DSLR camera that we had kicking around here, and it was terrible. Like so much so that I think we actually pulled it and completely shut down the entire the operation very quickly. Um, I think for me, like personally, it's just a time thing. I would love to be able to do a YouTube thing a little bit more full time. But unfortunately, I mean, I have a day job, and like most content creators out there, I just find it, I just don't have enough hours in the day between, writing product reviews and, communication between different companies and just kind of getting it all together. And I'm a perfectionist, so I would always want it to be perfect. And I just don't think I could make that happen on the schedule I'm on right now. We have been talking about it a lot more lately because we've had conversations with a couple of other guys from the Nomad Tech Project who um, about expanding out and doing something in YouTube. I'll just say this much: maybe in 2023 we might see something come together. I won't give too much away, but we're hoping one day to kind of make that happen, right? And I know I think it would be a great format, and I think you're right. Having a uh, start of the week, end of the week kind of powwow is probably a good way to do it, right?
And I was just actually looking at I was just looking at the website there, and
Yeah.
it's interesting because it's not the other thing is it's not all entirely tech.
No, not at all.
So
Not at all.
that's what like there's a jacket on there and there's some like
Yeah.
what's in your fridge stuff and it's
Yeah.
kind of cool to see that. So um do you have some so I don't know a ton about it, but
Yeah.
so we're gonna get to know about it a little bit.
Yeah. No, that's okay.
So are you have other writers then for it or
Yeah, we have like a little small team. It's kind of most of the time it ends up being me having just the final editing, approval. But we have a little team that we have here in Toronto, and we kind of just get together. Once we receive some products and stuff from different sources and companies, we sit down, we kind of open them up, we talk about them, we get a couple of the guys to kind of take it home and use it for a couple of weeks, a week, whatever, and then we just kind of get together and just talk about it, like what they liked, what they didn't like. We kind of come up with a little bit of a copy, a write up of a basic draft, and then I just kind of take some of it myself and do the final edits on it. Sometimes it's legitimately just me reviewing the products. If it's something that is of interest to me, I'll kind of take it and run with it. But yeah, and I think for us, like it never was just about tech. We always said, on the web with the website, we wanted to review everything, and we are always open to reviewing everything. And we've reviewed crazy things, like camel's milk and leather jackets, and like just you name it, we've probably covered it, right? We've done, I think, up to date now, like just over 1,000 different product reviews. On average, it's probably about 200 plus a year, which I mean, it's a lot for a small team, but we kind of make do, I guess. But yeah, no, I mean, we've had, it's never was just tech, but I mean, I love technology. It's me. That's kind of the drive behind that, right?
so that was the other thing. So when I started off doing for people that are new and I have, quite a few new people in my chat here that I've gotten to know in more recent times. I
Yeah,
started off it's actually been almost exactly 3 years ago. It was November of 2019. I started off doing some live streams, and then it
yeah,
was CES 20. Let's see, 2020. Yeah.
yeah,
So was when I kind of started doing these what I was calling creator interviews, and I had Adam from Tech Odyssey was on there. He had literally just gotten back from
yes,
CES. He
yes.
was
Oh,
at
perfect. Yeah,
4,500 subscribers, and now he's got like 107,000, which is awesome to see. And
yeah,
and I've had to like El Jefe's been on there. I've had um different ones that were on there. Kevin Breeze was on there, and different things that I did early on
yeah,
in the days. And then as life got on and COVID started hitting,
yeah.
and um, and then also I was kind of continually doing live streams, and then we were looking to move, and so my desk got pretty much torn down, and so that kind of
Yes.
delayed. So then I came back, and I was doing the Behind the Mind series.
Yep.
Um, and one of the things, the reason I kind of changed it up and didn't come back with creator interviews is I didn't want to be linked into creators necessarily in the
Yes.
sense of, so Behind the Minds is kind of this idea of getting to know the person, not necessarily in the typical sense of content creator. It could be an artist, poet, writer,
Yeah.
sculptor, whatever, photographer, the sense of just getting to know the person and kind of what makes the person tick, what,
Yeah.
the essence of like the biography of the person.
Yeah.
And um, so that's kind of been on that's kind of I did my little short season of that, and now right now what we're doing is just kind of just a open discussion on anything that comes to mind of, and then
That's
of course
perfect.
I'll have some people come back when I kind of get into that, just because
Yeah.
holidays are coming in. We have Thanksgiving coming in for people
Yes.
that are doing that. There's other holidays as far as different, like Middle Eastern and
Yeah.
Indian, and different holidays that are going on. And so I don't, this time of the year from now until pretty much after Christmas, people are busy and things are going on and
It's
weather
chaos.
is
Yes.
chaotic. And
Yeah.
people are getting sick, and I was getting sick, and I was like, I don't want to start scheduling people, and I've had to postpone and cancel and delay and all that. And
Yeah.
weather today, I was like, come on, weather, hold on, winter storm is coming through,
Yeah.
don't take out my internet. So,
Yeah.
um, that's kind of what we're doing for people that are watching this. Is this is just kind of an open discussion on just, I guess we are sort of getting to know you, but also just kind of a, like, what's your business about, and just kind of a, what tech do you carry, and we're gonna get into some of that discussion, and kind of a,
Sure.
um kind of your thoughts on some things, because I know you have plenty of thoughts and plenty of opinions on things.
Probably too
So
many.
for people, I guess the first thing I would say, is, what's the device in your pocket right now?
So I have two devices right now. I have the Pixel 7 Pro, which is currently on charge, and the iPhone 14 Pro Max is my other device. I am torn between the two, and I know you probably heard me talking about this. I originally, when I got the Pixel 7 Pro, I was very much bedazzled, and still are for a big degree. But I was always an iPhone user, and have been an iPhone user for many, 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 many years. Um, I tried to sell the iPhone, and I got a little bit of interest from it, and then for a series of just kind of like people backed out, they didn't want it, they changed their mind. It ended up just staying with me, and it's become, I guess, what they would call a secondary device to me. So I'm kind of constantly flipping back and forth between the Pixel and the iPhone. Just yeah, I just can't seem to give it up now. Like it's ingratiated itself into my life again, and I'm a two phone guy now, which I just hate that term, but apparently I am.
Yeah, that's been my thing was when I had my iPhone 13 Pro, I was using my Fold a lot. And I
Yes.
think part of it was because battery life wasn't necessarily like that much difference between the two for me.
Yep.
But now with my 14 Pro Max, the fact that I have like insane times where, like, the other day, I was at like, what was that? It was like 57% battery left, and I had
Yeah.
7.5 hours off of like
Yeah.
screen on time, and it had been off the charger since I was like, so I'm like looking at, and that reminded me of my 11 Pro Max days, because I was one of the people that I would, when we go to the in-laws, we could be gone for like 2 or 3 days. I get 4 or 5 hours of screen on time each
Yep.
day, and get home with like 10% left on one
Yeah.
charge with like 14, 15 hours of screen on time. Like,
Yeah.
and that wasn't even on Wi-Fi, because their Wi-Fi was horrible there. That was on
Yeah.
cellular LTE, and then of course the 12 series was pretty awful because 5G first kind of entry into it,
Yeah.
and like the battery life was smaller, but 5G came in there, and the 13 series got better, but my 13 Pro, um, really was never that much as far as like battery life differentiating between that and like when I had my S22 Ultra was decent once. Actually, I had that because I traded that in for my Fold, and it was
Yeah.
right when One UI 5 beta came out,
Yeah.
and that battery life on that was fairly decent. So for me, that's kind of become the thing too. It's like it's my iPhone because of battery life,
Yes.
because I'm recording video. Now my Fold does brilliant with video. I just the difficult thing for me is like, okay, if I'm using the back camera, now it's gotten better, but for a while there I had a little bit of an issue with if I was using the I didn't really want to use the where you flip it
Inbuilt.
open and you use that outer
Yes.
screen to view myself. So I
The
was using my
worst. Yeah.
watch, but the Galaxy Watch remote view is pretty awful in comparison,
Yes.
at least to the Apple Watch version, and like
Y-
it doesn't like you don't have all the options as much. Now it's improved
No.
a little bit, and like the
Yeah.
view of it's really weird. I
Framed
struggle to try to
weirdly.
figure out how to get
Yeah.
it to like because you have, and I think that's part of the reason why Apple went as much as people like despise the square face. I think that's why they did it because they realized that
Yeah.
like when you're typing on a keyboard, when you're interacting and doing a lot of the things, it's like having a small phone on your wrist, and that there's a reason
Exactly.
why it's square. But at the same
Yeah.
time, I love my Galaxy Watch. Battery life has been really good.
Yeah.
Apple Watch. And actually, here's a trick for some people. Do you have an Apple Watch or do
I
you?
do. Yeah. I do.
So I don't know if this is like 100%, but I've talked to some other people that have kind of experienced this too. So with watchOS 9, they introduced the whole low power mode thing.
Yes.
And I figured out something kind of weird. If I enabled that and ran with that for like, well, I did it for like 5 days, but I don't think you would have to go that long. But like if you
Yeah.
run that for a few days on that mode, when I went off from it, my battery life on normal mode is not much less than it is on low power mode. So I don't know if it like
Yeah.
tricks it or if
Yeah.
it's something with the new update, but I noticed when I went, because really low power mode, it
You
just
would think it would
disables
extend
the
it.
it
Yeah.
just disables the automatic heart rate monitoring stuff. So it's not
Yeah.
really shutting a lot off. Your notifications still come through, all your other stuff.
Yeah.
Now notifications can be delayed, but I just found that interesting. So I can still, I'm still getting, depending on what I'm doing, I get 2 or 3 days on my Apple Watch on normal mode, which is funny. I was getting maybe like a couple hours longer going in low power mode. So I'm like, well, what's the
Yeah.
point in having that if then I lose the constant heart rate monitoring, which to me is something that I find beneficial because it's like I want to be, not that it's used for medical purposes. I have to, obviously give that, but like
Yeah, of course. But
it
you want
it
to
will
have
pick
that
up on
data.
some stuff and I want the data. So I just find that interesting that it like to me something with the Watch OS update just substantially improved the battery life to the point
Yeah.
where I kind of feel like people who bought the I don't know, I'm gonna phrase this and I'll get your thoughts on it, but I
Yeah.
kind of feel like people that bought the Apple Watch Ultra almost aren't getting as much of a benefit out of it as what we
No.
suspected because like I'm seeing people getting 3 days, but if I'm getting 2.5, 3 days on like the Series 7, and then the
Yeah.
Series 8, I guess is supposed to be similar, and of course it has the newer sensors. Um, I kind of feel like if you paid twice the price, but you're only
Yeah.
getting similar battery life, I guess. The other thing I don't know about that is like a lot of people are using the Ultra with the always on display on. So I don't know, obviously that degrades it, but I've even heard from people that shut that off that they're getting very similar. Of course, then, they have the benefits of the durability and like actually being
Yeah.
able to fully submerge it underwater and stuff. So what are your thoughts as far as like the whole idea of, I think we had this discussion before where there's three kinds of, you have like the band that's the wearable that's really focused on like exercise and you can get
Yeah.
notifications but you can't really respond to them and not necessarily all your notifications, but it's really an exercise focused and like battery life,
Yeah.
focused thing. And then you have something that's um that's like the extreme opposite, like the Garmin, where
Which
it's
is just
like
epic.
it
Yeah.
looks like a watch, it's the durable, it's the rugged, and sometimes some notifications come through, but it's really focused on like getting weeks, if not like a month of battery life and still getting your GPS stuff and still get, and then you have like the middle ground, which I think is like the Apple Watch and the Galaxy Watch.
Yeah.
And actually, I just thought about this. You almost have a fourth one, which I think is the Tick Watch,
Yes.
where it's where you still get the battery life because the always on display. I'm not talking about like the TicWatch Pro 3 and the Pro 3 Ultra and all that.
Yeah.
It's kind of a it's similar to the Apple Watch and the Galaxy Watch, but I think it's also, you don't get all the same access to the
Accuracy.
apps
Yeah.
necessarily and the same accuracy, but you get the battery life of
I know there's a
that's
trade-off,
up
right?
there, so it's weird.
Yeah.
So, do you feel like that it's necessary to have all these variable of ones? Or if
Yeah.
there wasn't, I feel like the Apple Watches, the Galaxy Watches, and the Pixel Watches, I feel like they would get pushed more to provide better battery life if there weren't the other options for the people that want that. Like,
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, like I've always said, if you're gonna make a smartwatch, it's either got to be another connected device, like it's got to be absolutely similar to your phone, notifications, be able to respond to emails, all of that. On the other side of the coin, you've got the people who love the fitness side of things, and the people who love the fitness side of things want nothing but battery and accuracy. So, when I'll give you an example, like when the Pixel Watch came out, we were talking about, and I kind of said to everybody on Friday Night Fury, I said, I kind of wish that Google just leaned into the fitness side of things and just kind of had a few smartwatch features and just had epic battery life, because that would have absolutely brought Apple Watch users over to the Pixel platform. I really believe that if they had just gone, okay, we've made this amazing fitness watch, it's going to track everything, heart rate, blood pressure, you name it. It's going to give you a 10-day battery life, but you're just going to get notifications, and that's pretty much it. Screw the apps, screw all of that. If they'd gone down that path, maybe you could respond to phone calls. We'll kind of meet them in the middle. I just feel like that would have been a home run for Google. The Pixel Watch, it's good for a first gen product, but it ain't Apple Watch. And at the end of the day, like here in Canada, the Apple Watch Ultra costs something insane like $13.99, and the Apple Watch Series 8 is $6.99. So it's basically double, right? And for me, like as much as I love Apple products and the Apple Watch Ultra looks beautiful, and I would probably use all those features. I am that target demographic. Um, it's just too much. It's too expensive. And I just don't feel like you're getting. It's just not worth the extra money. Like, sure, you get, a nicer screen, a flat screen, a little bit better battery. But like you said, Mike, my Apple Watch Series 7, I get two to 3 days before the update. So and I'm using that thing every single day. I've got all notifications on. I'm using it to track fitness. I'm using it to track, my heart rate, everything. Nothing is turned off. And I had no problems whatsoever getting at least 2 days straight battery, sometimes a little bit more if I, didn't use it as much or whatever. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like for me personally, I'm more inclined to go for the fitness focused watch versus the smartwatch. But I know, and this is the thing, especially with like Android devices, the TicWatch Pro 3 Ultra, it's beautiful, has amazing battery, but it just doesn't have the accuracy of something like a fitness focused watch or an Apple Watch. So I mean, where do we draw the line, right? Like, what do we do in that situation? Do you say, screw it, my heart rate's going to be off by 25 beats every time I measure it, or my fitness is going to be 3 kilometers short of the 10K that I just run, but I've got amazing battery life, or do you go, no, I've got to focus on a watch and buy a watch that's better for fitness? That's the catch. The catch there is, right? That's the world we live in currently right now.
that kind of that kind of made something flip in my head. And before I go into this, I'm going to go and do a little intermission here and
Yeah,
welcome everybody to the stream. I was thinking about this when I was doing these streams. I was like, sometimes I just sit here and talk through these like a podcast, but then I notice people like the interaction.
method.
I like
Yeah,
the interaction, so I just want to welcome Big John Tech here, Tech for Your Needs, JoJo, Latrell was in here, Savage Scientist, El Jefe, anybody who's lurking in the background, of course, welcome. This is kind of our forum for us to kind of just relax and get to know our fellow creator, fellow just I guess, fellow person and just kind of get thoughts from other people on some of these subjects and things that I would just
Hey
sit
man,
back and they
delve
just
off.
culminate in my brain otherwise. So being able to spit these out, my wife would look at me like, I don't know what you're talking about. So being able to talk to people about whatever it is that they enjoy, that I enjoy, along with that, I guess, kind of connected us and how we got
Yeah.
to know each other. So that's what we're doing. And good evening, Delvon. Oh my gosh, some of the art that he's been doing just
Oh, I
is
know, it's
amazing.
amazing.
That stuff and as a photographer, like the conversation that's brought in there is amazing. But what I was gonna say is I kind of feel like where Google could really step in is, and one of the things that was brought up that was kind of an issue with their acquisition of Fitbit is they're not allowed to use that data for 10 years. That's part of the
Yeah.
EU agreement. So why don't they just do kind of like Apple did with Beats, right? When they acquire Beats, that stays as its own thing. It stays as its own.
Yeah.
Google could have come in and been like, you know what? We're gonna have the Google Fitbit because we've acquired it, and we want,
Yeah.
people maybe they not might not recognize Fitbit, but they might recognize Google's name. And then if they just put like the Google Smart
Branding.
Band, people might be like, "What is
Yeah.
that?" So you'd have the opposite. People recognize Fitbit as well. So they could
Yeah.
have done the Google Fitbit and then done the Pixel Watch. And I feel like where that could have separated things is they could have said, you know what, the Google Fitbit, that's for the person who wants all the exercise stuff and the long battery life, but doesn't
Yes.
necessarily care about the notifications. Your calls will pop up so you can answer your calls. Notifications might buzz you and you get like a little brief, but you can't really reply to them. You don't load apps. And then the Pixel Watch is everything you like about the Pixel. It's call screening. It's
Yes.
it's the access to the apps. It's the way it's let's take Wear OS and run with it. Let's put it front page, which they've done a lot better with. That's one thing that kind of has bothered me with the Wear OS thing, is you go to the Play Store and it wasn't really there. Now they have a front page for it.
Yes.
The
Yep.
thing that really killed the thing that killed the TickWatch experience for me was when Telegram was removed from Wear OS, which has now been removed from the Apple Watch as well a
Yes.
couple of months ago. And I don't know what happened with that. If the developers just decided we don't want to, follow policies, or what's going on with some of the, um, which bothers me a little bit. I mean, you still get your notifications. I feel like that's where they could have really ran with it, and they could have said, you
Yeah.
know what, we're going to provide you killer battery life, and we're going to provide you accuracy, and we're going to provide you all the things you like of the Fitbit, but we're also going to provide updates, and we're also going to provide the way that it connects, not just with Fitbit. We're going to allow that data to connect through to your Google Health, because
Yes.
they're allowed to do that as part of the agreement still. They just couldn't completely rip out the Fitbit part of it and take over. And then if you get the Pixel Watch, for the people who really they want a smartwatch, but they don't necessarily, and they want some of the monitoring, but
Yeah.
they don't necessarily care about the battery life being a week long, and they don't necessarily care about some of the other things that are in there. Um, and we're gonna charge $99 for the Google Fit band. And
Yes.
then we're going to charge, and then the 349 is an okay thing for them to do at the Pixel Watch end because they're providing the experience. And I feel like that's along with the Apple Watch pricing, and along with
Yeah.
like the Galaxy Watch kind of base pricing on that. And right now, what's crazy is they've taken $50 off the Pixel Watch. I've seen on
I just
several
got a
different, like
killer deal.
Amazon and several different,
Yeah.
and the Pixel 7 is $100 off,
I
and the
know.
7 Pro is 150 off. Well, in the United States, I don't know what the conversion on,
No, it's the same here. Like I paid full price for my Pixel 7 Pro. And it was insanely expensive here in Canada because of the rate. I think it was about 1,100 is what I ended up paying for it. But I originally had the Pixel Watch. I had some issues with my Pixel Watch. I ended up sending it back. But right now I had that $200 store credit that they were offering when you first bought the Pixel at launch. Plus, I had I pay for the Google storage, so I had some credits there, and they had $50 off, which was what you were just talking about. I just picked up another Pixel Watch for like $150, and for $150, that's worth it to me. Like I'm all right with $150. Like otherwise, here in Canada, you're paying I think it's $449 for the Bluetooth version and $549 I think for the LTE version. And I mean, that's getting up there in price, right? So, I mean, to be able to knock it down to $150, I'm going to give it another crack. I'm going to see how I like it a second time. Maybe I'll have a little bit more luck this time. I had some issues with the tracking. I don't know what was wrong with mine, but mine was just vastly off when I first got it at launch. So, and I know Delvon, who's listening right now, he's been liking his a fair bit, and he was talking a little bit about size and I won't go into the whole size debate about how big or small it should be, but they do need to make a bigger version. Hopefully, we get 43 would be awesome, somewhere right in the middle, like not quite Apple Watch size, not quite too small. But no, yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, like it's just one of those things, right? Where it's like you're always going to have a certain type of user for a smartwatch. Personally, I actually think like if you've seen the new Fitbits they just released, like the Versa and the Sense, I would have just if I was in charge of Google, I would have just taken one of those, slapped the Google Fitbit on the box. I would have added in a few extra features like the ability to respond to a text and take a call. And I would have just kept the exact same formula, but just tweaked it a little bit and shipped that out at 250, 249 and said, here is our Google Fitbit watch, whatever you want to call it. You've got all the convenience of the Fitbit health features, and you've got what you know and love from that particular package. I didn't think they needed to make something new. I just think they needed to rebrand the good stuff they already had in a Fitbit, which is what I thought they were going to do. But what do I know, right?
So here's a crazy thing right now. So for people who are in an area where T-Mobile gets good reception, and I don't know how they're doing this, but you can get the Pixel 7 Pro if you get, so basically they're doing a thing right now where if you buy 6 months, you get 6 months of service free through Mint
Okay.
Mobile. So basically, you're getting your months half off essentially. And so like their 4 gig plan, um, it's normally that would be $90, or that would be $180, and it's $90 right now, and they're unlimited every month. Basically, it ends up being $15 a month if you do it. So it's $180, and then
Yeah.
but then they've knocked the phone down to $499. So for
Wow.
um basically 679, you can get the Pixel 7 Pro and unlimited data for a year on Mint Mobile. Which is funny because the regular Pixel 7 actually ends up being more expensive right now through them. It ends
Oh
up being
wow.
like $8. It ends up being a little bit more per month. And then if you qualify for Affirm,
Yep.
they're doing it at $50 a month. Um, and if you pay all at one, if you're doing it all at once, it's literally then $90 difference to go from 4 gigs a month unlimited to do that. So it's kind of insane. And then of course, um, Mint quite often will have these deals where, and you don't even necessarily have to be a new customer, but they'll have these deals where it's like you buy 3 months, you get 3 months off, or you buy
That's good.
6 months.
Yeah.
So when your year is up, they'll probably have this deal again. So if you want to keep the phone, or when the Pixel 8 series comes out, they'll probably do the same thing again. And it's
Yeah.
insane. So you're getting the phone plus a year's worth of service
Service. Yeah.
for, and then if you're paying it all up front, then after a certain amount of time, I'm sure that gets unlocked. After a certain,
Yeah.
I don't know if it comes unlocked. I can't remember what Mint Mobile's deal is, but even then, if you think about that, like So the normal price on that
It
it's like
comes down
200
to
and
nothing.
some, it ends up
Yeah,
being $220 off if you were just getting the phone for that. So that's
yeah.
insane to me. And that deal doesn't last long because they had that when it first came out, and then it goes away, and then it
It
comes, and
goes
it must be
quickly.
their
Yeah,
inventory. But that's like the insane deal I've seen on that. If people are looking, now if they're with, another carrier, or they already have T-Mobile or whatever, you know, and they're going to make it their primary device, and they don't want to have to like transfer numbers or do whatever. Um, that's a pretty good deal. And then the other thing is, Google themselves with their Google Fi. The latest thing in the news is if you have their Plus plan, they're now offering a year of YouTube Premium included.
hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so that's it's $120 basically value
Good
is what
deal.
they're doing it as,
Yeah,
because it's $12.99 a month, but you can do that. They have a deal where you can buy it for a year apparently, so that's what they're considering. So I was like, that's not a bad, but you have to have the was it $60 a month, Google Fi Unlimited. But
yeah.
one of the things I think is neat about that is for those of us who um, carry multiple devices is Google Fi actually allows some different things as far as like you can have a secondary device that uses like the same number and some things like that.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's also the only service which I think is interesting. So they have a way that they can do this, and I don't understand why they don't allow it in general, but where you can have all your messages sync through your Google account. Like your Google messages will actually show up
Yes.
on another device if you
Like
sign into the
that's
Google account.
yeah,
Why
super
they don't
weird.
just make the app available?
I know. Yeah.
Because they
Yeah.
could put that in the iOS app store, and it doesn't violate their terms of services. Obviously, you can't make it the default, but they could make it so I could be like, you know what? I have a Pixel, and then I'm just gonna install the Google Messages app on my iPhone,
Yeah.
and I can reply to all, and they'd sync up, and
That's
that would
not a
also
bad
motivate
suggestion.
people to use Google Fi, because if it's
Yeah.
only available as part of that, you had to
Yeah.
have
I
to
don't
have a
know.
Pixel as your primary device and Google Fi, but they should just separate that, because then Google, gets you
Yeah.
using their services more and more, and especially if they offer deals like that where somebody's like, well, I'm not sure about it, but you know what? If I can save, essentially $10 a month because they're going to include that with my, YouTube Premium, or more than that, if I have a couple lines on there. I don't know how that works. I'm assuming that's only for one person though. So if you have, multiple people with multiple different YouTube Premium
Yeah.
accounts, it's not gonna,
How does that
unless you have
work? Yeah.
separate Google Fi account. So my question is, in Canada, how are the carrier promotion deals as far as like, are they still pretty well, like it's mostly Samsung, and then somewhat Apple, and then Google and others are kind of
So I'll tell you
uh
the honest to God truth, and this is, and I mean this in the absolute most direct way. Cell phone plans and deals here in Canada is the equivalent of going to a third world country. We have the most, absolutely most ridiculous, expensive plans for cell phone service in the entire world. And like I said, I'm Australian, so when I go back to Australia and they're paying, $25 a month for 80 gigs of data, and I come back to Canada and you're paying what $100+ for 20 gigs, it's a big deal, right? So I mean, here we really don't have a lot of great carrier deals. If you're locked into a plan, you're locked into a plan, and that's kind of how it is and how it's done here. To be honest with you, a lot of people in Canada go the outright route. They just go and buy it and pay cash or whatever, pay it on their credit card, and just eventually they'll pay it off. But I know, like, you were mentioning about the Pixel, but I know in the UK they when the pre-orders for the Google Pixel, they had the Pixel Watch included. That was their bonus, like promotion over in the UK. And I remember we were talking about this on Friday Night Fury, and just before the Pixel 7 came out, I said somewhere around the world that one of these countries is going to catch on to that idea that the best way to push the phone is to throw in the watch. And the UK did that. And from what I hear from a lot of these friends of mine that I have in the UK, that apparently that Google's doing pretty well over there right now. They're actually drawing in a lot of new consumers because who doesn't want a free smartwatch with their phone, the watch that's supposed to go with the phone, right? Like it's crazy. To be honest with you, like to answer your question, do you see a lot of Google like stuff here? Absolutely not. It very much is Apple and Samsung still like they're the big push from a lot of these cell phone carriers and companies. If you go into the store, like Best Buys and even like the carrier stores, you will see like a Google display, and they'll have the phones. You can touch them, and you can see how pretty they are. But they're not actively pushing Google phones here in Canada. Yeah, we see a lot of TV ads and radio commercials and stuff like that. But yeah, there's just no push here for it, and I'm not sure why, to be honest with you. You would think competition is a good thing, but here in Canada, one of the fundamental truths about competition, especially in the cell phone industry here in Canada, is that there's one big company, two big companies that rule the entire show. And you're either with one, or you're with the other, or you're with their little subsidiary brands, the cheaper alternatives. Um, but yeah, it's just a very closed market here, and it's kind of sad. When I go to visit, the States, I was in Buffalo on Saturday, and I'm seeing all of these options. It's just fascinating to me how many options you guys have, compared to what we don't have. We pay more and we have less. That's just Canada in a nutshell, right?
It's interesting because I know, on the other hand, though, you guys have access to some brands that we don't. Like I know Huawei stuff
Yes.
you can get there.
Yeah.
I've seen quite a few, obviously, of fellow content creators and stuff that they cover, even like the Mate books and some stuff like that that you can get
I
there, and
reviewed those.
like Xiaomi devices that you can get
Yes.
easily. And sometimes I'm like, you know what? I feel like I should just drive to Canada, just drive a couple hours, go across the border, go grab. I actually thought about it at one point. I was like,
Honestly, you wouldn't be the only one. A lot of people do that. I mean,
uh,
like I've reviewed just recently. I did the FreeBuds Pro 2 on One Cut Reviews there. And look, I mean, I'm very fortunate that here in Canada we still have access to a lot of Huawei products. And I'll be honest with you, I've said it all along. Huawei is a very impressive company, and everything from like their laptops to their earphones and even their cell phones, when we can't buy them here anymore in Canada, unfortunately, but we can still get all of their other stuff. Their products are amazing. And I mean this seriously, like as a fan of tech and as a fan of the latest and greatest things, I'm always shocked by how far ahead of the game Huawei products are. Those FreeBuds Pro, which I just reviewed like this past week, when you put those in your ears and you listen, the quality of sound that comes out of those, it makes every other earphone like these types I'm wearing now, just sound like shit. It's like amazing to see, and it just goes to show you that they are still making good products, but they unfortunately got a bit of a reputation for being this controversial entity in the technology space. I personally use the MateBook, their laptop. It's my go-to device when I'm on the road. Like that's what I type up reviews on. That's what I'm editing on. It's amazing, absolutely amazing.
I even thought about, funny enough, I actually thought about, probably not now because the weather's awful, but maybe springtime, taking a trip, and going across into Canada, and that would be a fun like vlog thing to do, and like
Hey
see the.
man, you're
I've never,
welcome.
well,
Come see me.
I've never been out of the United States
Oh, there
technically,
you go.
so
Yeah.
it would be fun. I actually thought about, funny enough when you said that, I was talking to my wife the other day, and I go, my guest I'm having on had an iPhone for sale, and we were talking about ship. I had talked about
Yeah.
Vivo and shipping and stuff. I actually ironically thought about it would probably be cheaper for me to
Just
hop in a
to,
car, even with
yeah,
gas
honestly,
prices, and drive
yeah.
it to you than it would be to ship it, sadly.
Well, the thing is too,
Especially
what
when you
kills.
consider trade, because then you would have to ship something this way, which would cost. So,
Yeah.
like, when I considered it, I could just drive.
But
Like, it's
honestly, it would
only.
have been easier for me to do it too. Like, one of the
Oh,
things that kills Canadian, here is the conversion rate of the US dollar to the Canadian dollar. Like sometimes we get lucky and it's a bit of parity, it's on par. But I mean, just this past week, I was going to buy something from the American Amazon site, and it worked out to be almost double, maybe more than that for by the time you add the taxes and the shipping and all of that, and it's just not worth it, right? So I mean, I'm a, in here in Canada, we're constantly kind of torn by this. Yeah, we can get products that you guys can't, but we also just pay through the ass for everything, especially if it's like a Google phone or if it's, a tax that, one of these companies like Apple is imposing on, the purchase of a new iPhone. I mean, even iPhones themselves, like, for the iPhone 14 Pro Max, I have the 256 gigabyte version. I think I paid all in with taxes. It came out to like $1,900. We're talking like Z Fold 4 prices, right? Like, and close to Z Fold 4 prices for an iPhone. And, one would argue the question, are you getting the same value from an iPhone than you are to pay an extra couple of $100 and pick up a Z Fold, right? It's just one of those things.
That's yeah, and I've heard worse than that. Like I've seen somebody where like, I have the 256 gig 14 Pro Max,
Yeah,
and that's here in the States, what's that's $1,200, right?
yeah,
No.
yeah. 12.99, I
Yeah,
think. Yeah,
something like that.
yeah,
And that somebody was talking about where they were, it was like $3,700, like
yeah.
equivalent to the US. I think it was Turkey. Oh
Yes.
yeah, iPhondo talks about how stuff is like super expensive in Turkey, but when
Yep.
you do the conversion rate back to the United States, it was like three times the price. I was like, no wonder people do all this stuff. Like you were talking about how like they threw in the Pixel Watch. I had actually
Yeah.
contemplated contacting somebody and seeing how much the shipping would have been from there to
Yeah.
here and being like, if I pay you for the cost of the Pixel, since it includes the watch for free, if I pay you for the cost and the shipping, will you just send it to me? Because then I could get the Pixel and the
Yeah.
watch. The only thing I found is like the only bummer with some of these, and Google doesn't do it, but some of them, well, they don't do it as far as I know. But some do, is you don't have the same bands on some of the devices if they're
Yes.
sent from other countries, so they won't work like on some of our 5G here. Now iPhones, I could get from anywhere
Yeah.
because they use the
They're
same,
universal. Yeah.
but like some Samsung devices, even if it's the Snapdragon, will have like their bands and stuff are restricted in their modems, and I don't know if
Yeah.
Google does that with the Pixel. Now, for me, that wouldn't be too concerning because, um, I'm usually on Wi-Fi, and a
Yeah.
lot of
You'll
times the
figure out a
bands
way.
that are around
Yeah.
here are the way or LTE or whatever. But um, it's just an interesting concept in the differentiation. And so
What a lot
so
of
so where you are, how far are you to like Detroit, you know?
Um, probably like I'm like just outside of Toronto, the city of Toronto, by about maybe half an hour. So, I would probably say 3 to 4 hours, maybe by
Okay.
car.
So that would be like a
Yeah,
good half day trip for me to go from here to you, but
yeah,
because
it's
I'm
not
like
that far.
a
Listen,
couple hours. I mean, it's like a 6 hour travel.
I got a spare room. Listen, you can crash here, buddy. You don't have to worry about a hotel. We're all good, man. We'll shoot the shit. We'll have a beer. No problem at all.
That would be amazing. I'll have to do. We'll have to set that up during like springtime
For
when it's
sure,
nicer. That'd
man.
be awesome. Come up on a weekend, and my wife would be like, "What are you doing? I got to do a I got to do a live stream in live, like in person. Don't
We'll
worry
do it in the
about it."
backyard. Yeah, we'll do it in the backyard, man. I'll hook the fire pit up. We'll cook some burgers. We'll make a deal of it, man. Sounds
That
good.
would be amazing, actually.
Yeah.
I've
Uh,
actually, that's my goal with this eventually, is to be able to
Face to
get to the
face.
point where I have like sponsors and stuff that will like pay to fly me to do face to face with stuff, just because it's
Yeah.
expensive. Like I
I've
could
been trying
drive
to
to some
get.
people, like there's quite a few people in Ohio that I could get to really easily, and
Oh,
some people in
100%.
Illinois and Wisconsin and stuff. But like, well, I'm talking about a lot of the people are in California, or they're out like
Further out.
Massachusetts, like along the or like
Yeah.
North
You want to
Carolina,
hit
or
up.
like along the coast. It's like I want to go that way where it's warm,
Yes.
but between flight stay that gets really expensive, and so unless you're gonna let me crash on your couch, like literally somebody's gonna let me
No.
crash on their couch, it's expensive.
Well, I've
So
been trying to get sponsors for CES for years now, years and years and years. I've been trying to hook that up because I mean for me it's a fair trek, right? I mean coming from where I am to Vegas, yeah, it's hours of flying, but I mean I don't mind. That doesn't bother me. I've been trying to get Nomad. I don't know if you heard of Nomad. They make amazing Pixel Bud cases and stuff like that.
I had their leather case with it had the Popple built into it for my 13
Yes,
Pro. And
yeah.
unfortunately they're not doing that partnership anymore. But I love that. I had that till like the end of the basically until I traded my phone in, and the patina and the leather was beautiful, and I love Nomad stuff. I've reached out to them and I was like, I'm gonna do a desk thing any way you can, and I didn't hear anything back yet, but we'll see.
You can ask Delvon, the creator of Nomad, is a guy named Chuck. Him and I are quite good friends. We've been collaborating together for a number of years now. And pretty much whenever there's a new product come out, I'm the first one to reach out to him and say, "Hey, Chuck, what do you reckon, man? We can cover this for you." And I just was joking with him just the other day by email. I said to him, I said, like, we've been collaborating with Nomad now for I think 5, 6 years. Like repeatedly every iPhone release, every release that they have. And I know Dalvon, who's listening right now, he was trying to get the leather case for the Pixel Buds Pro, and he was trying to get Nomad on board. And I just sent one email to Chuck, and boom, it was done. Right, like he managed to get a hookup there. And I'm always happy to help people out if it helps promote Nomad and it helps promote our channel and your channel. Yeah, just talk to me after the broadcast finishes, Mike, and I'll hook you up. We'll get you sorted, man, for sure.
Sounds great. It is that time. It is 9 o'clock. Ike's stream is starting right now. So if you
Yes,
are, left lingering around my stream, head over to Ike's stream.
for sure.
Um, and thank you to Darren for joining me.
No problem.
An hour goes by super fast,
It does. Yeah, we
and
could talk all day long.
I've done that before. I used to, in the good old days, I would say I'm going to do an hour, and it would be 2.5 hours later, and I'd go, we need to be done.
Yes,
But,
time to wrap up.
so
Thanks for having me,
thanks
man.
everybody who came on through in the chat. Of course, if you're in the replay crew, everybody knows what to do. Hashtag replay crew. If you're new to the channel, hit the things, hit the like button, of course, subscribe. Go check out onecutReviews.com, and I will see you all next week. Should have hopefully a video popping off tomorrow. About about 14 Pro Max and some of the opinion stuff, and I think some of kind of the ideas of I th the misconceptions of Dynamic Island always on display, and some of that stuff that I've discovered having used this for the last, well, it's been a couple months now. So
They
thanks
just fixed
everybody.
the